Hey, you're getting some 80, 90,000 and all, no? And depending on your response, they then calculate on how much you're making.
It's an ISB today doesn't even cost you 40 lakhs. It's actually about 55 odd lakhs plus maybe even more this year.
I don't think MBAs or MBA colleges are updating themselves to ensure that people who do an MBA is getting an advantage more than people who work in high growth startups. Welcome to this week's edition of the Indian Startup Desktop. Let's go.
Hello.
Hello everybody.
Okay, nice energy, guys. Let's start with sorry, Mr. Murthy sir. Sorry, sir. I took one day leave due to this. I have failed you.
Oh, damn.
Damn funny.
Let's move on to work from home problems.
We have to complete this project as soon as possible. Okay, everyone should do their best, and I need everyone. यार क्या कर रहे हो यार तुम क्या कर रहे हो तुम्हें पता नहीं मेरी मीटिंग चल रही है
यार आज तो सैटरडे आज कौन सी मीटिंग
ये क्या कर रही हो ऑफिस वालों ने होली वाले दिन सैटरडे वाले दिन मार के रखी है मेरी अच्छी खासे से
तुम मुझ पे क्यों गुस्सा कर रहे हो बेबी ये तो मेरा टाइम है ना
यार तुम्हारा टाइम है मैं क्या करूँ मैंने अपने बंदी से ज्यादा मैं टाइम अपनी इस ऑफिस को दे रहा हूँ मेरा दिमाग खराब हो रहा है मैं नहीं कर रही काम
ये
यहाँ
तुम्हारी प्रॉब्लम है तुम अपना काम ही करो मेरे को मुंह मत लगाना मैं जा रही हूँ
यार सुनो तो यार मेरी बात यार क्या कर रहे हो
The fear is
For
real,
some
bro.
reason, I thought this is a marketing thing. At the end, they will advertise something. I thought this is one of those Twitter viral things purposely made.
Me
Bro,
too,
the fear
actually.
is real, though. I fully understand this fear.
Dude, this is damn funny, but look at this. My friend worked at a growth in a Bangalore-based startup and he just quit. I asked him what is the reason and he said strategy of the company changed as per what book the founder was reading that week.
Oh, damn.
Okay, look at this. Do you guys watch Severance?
Yeah.
Oh. Damn nice,
Coincidence
bro.
much? Look at this. Kunal Shah preaches a lot about high trust society, but look at the perfect example of a high trust society. Which one will you guys pick? You guys had to go to this washroom.
Dude, the last one or the first one, not the middle one for sure.
Yeah, nobody will pick the middle one. Except Saksham. There's another funny thing that we came across. Market falls are respected only by winners, which is why I won't stop my SIP. Arey, these investment companies should advertise like this now, no, since the market has crashed majorly.
They always come with good campaigns. Mutual Fund Sahi was such a great campaign which went on for years, 10, 15 years, and it changed things for them.
It's still
Yeah.
going on, by the way. It's still going
Mutual
on.
Fund Sahi is a great campaign.
Look at this. When Sulita Williams came back, she received her first call. She was awarded a pre-approved personal loan by Bajaj Finance.
Where's the lie?
Okay, cool. Let's move on to our weekly feed, Startup Grants. So this, really nice character on Reddit created a open source directory of startup grants. So if anybody is looking to get some grants for your startups, this is the place for you to go. We will pin this in the comment section. But look at this, guys. It's crazy, right? I wasn't even aware that there were so many grants and schemes available for startups.
All of them are Kerala Startup Mission only, Pete, you see.
മലയാളിയാണോ നാട്ടിലെവിടെയാ
Okay. Anyway, let's move on to the Rippling versus Deel saga. Now, we know this is not very specific to Indian startups, but it's one of the biggest stories in tech, and we think it's important covering it. Pawan, do you want to quickly read out the tweet?
Yeah. Rippling sued Deel today. Our lawsuit alleges Deel cultivated a spy at Rippling and orchestrated a long-running trade secret theft. The spies searched Deel in our systems 23 times per day on average, letting him spy on Deel's own customers who were considering a switch to Rippling. Doesn't this remind you of Plate from last year?
Oh, yeah.
Where they
the
interviewed a
Stripe
lot of
versus Square.
The
candidates
Spy versus
and
Plate.
then
Yeah. But Pete, why don't you give folks a
Yeah,
very
so I'll
quick
just give a quick
rundown?
run through of what happened. So both Rippling and Deel are companies, in fact, large companies in the HR tech space. They're both valued north of $10 billion plus. And in a lot of the enterprise conversations, they both compete with each other. Now, Rippling claims that there is an employee who works at Rippling who was spying for Deel. And how do they come to know? It's because this particular employee used to search for deal related deals on their Slack for the longest period of time. So then to catch this person, they set up a honeypot trap. How do they do it? They sent a letter to the top management of Deel mentioning a fake Slack channel called DD Factors or something like that. Now, obviously, all the Rippling management knew that this Slack channel was fake. Within a matter of minutes, this particular employee who works at Rippling went and tried finding the Slack channel. Now, look at the question. Now, look at this honeypot. They send this letter mentioning this fake channel only to the top three or top four people at Deal. But within a matter of minutes, this particular employee searched for the Slack channel, thus proving that this was something coordinated. And the funny
That's
thing
crazy,
was,
bro.
once that's crazy, and once this happened, they called a independent person to basically take the devices from this employee. This employee ran to the bathroom, locked himself in, and they could hear him flushing down his phone. This is crazy, right? This sounds like
Wow,
a drama, but
that's
that's
Dude,
straight out of
exactly
a
FBI, dude.
straight out of a
FBI at your
movie.
door.
some of the memes that came out of here are just too funny.
Dude, Silicon Valley is so accurate always, dude. For everything that happens.
Silicon Valley is
This is
awesome.
wild. This is wild stuff.
That's why they
Crazy
call it
wild,
Wild
bro.
Wild West, no?
Okay, that's our cue to move on. Let's move on to our weekly chatter. How to deal with aunties who ask your salary. Pawan, do you want to go first here?
I would just say that I'm still searching for a job and would never reveal.
Wow, very smart. Saksham, do you want to
What
chip in?
what what do you guys do? I'm pretty sure we have all been asked this question, and what's the right way of going through it?
Very standard response for this. I am always like कि हाँ चल रहा है, ठीक चल रहा है, काम हो जाता है. I'm able to manage and survive, and that's it. And the problem is, I don't know if you guys actually go through this in at least a lot of North Indian families, right? It's a huge thing, right? Just relatives are always behind asking you what your salary is, and they will keep sort of following up with you to say, okay, ठीक है, you are saying चल जाता है, but what is it exactly? How much is it exactly? So I always end up giving some wrong figure, but I have to give out a figure. Like unfortunately for me, I don't have the leverage of not giving a figure, so I just say some random small number.
So in South India, it's pretty subtle actually. No one asks you direct numbers, or no one asks you like a direct question like that. They try to figure it out. They ask subtle questions one after the other, just trying to figure out
Yeah,
what are you
yeah.
making.
They ask it like this. Hey, you're getting some 80, 90,000 and all, no? And depending on your response, they then calculate on how much you are.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one, Pete. Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to B school problems. This is something that blew up on Twitter a couple of days ago. But look at this. ISB Chronicles Part 1, the brutal reality no one wants you about. Less than 3 weeks to convocation, more than 60 people still unplaced. And these aren't students who slacked off, had poor grades, or came from unconventional backgrounds. These are people with impressive credentials. BTech from IITs, NITs with 3 years consulting experience, professionals with 5 years in VC, even some with 7 years in operations. If the system worked the way ISB claims, these people should have had jobs locked in months ago, but they don't, and nobody cares. The broken dream. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's a market cycle. Basically, right now people are finding difficulties to get a job because the market's down. But if you classically see, right, there is a book called as Beyond the MBA Hype from Samir Kamath, if I'm not wrong, and it's a very well summarized book of why should someone choose for an MBA or why should someone not go for an MBA. And there's a beautiful part mentioned in that book where he says that the right time to do an MBA is actually when the world is going through a crisis, because the world, if falls back, you are right out of the college with a shiny degree and you will be employed directly. If the world doesn't come out of the crisis, you anyway don't have the chance of making it big without not doing an MBA as well. So he says that crisis is recently a better opportunity if you do the sum of loss.
I also feel so. One is obviously I think people are more aware, at least in India, that a school like ISB people go mostly for the network, and you can also get a lot of these jobs outside the campus. But to the point of actually spending about it, and ISB today doesn't even cost you 40 lakhs. It's actually about 55 odd lakhs plus maybe even more this year that it costs. I personally know so many people who have worked before going to ISB, who have worked for 3, 4, 5 years, and after ISB they're getting placement offers of 25 to 30L, which in my opinion is not great considering the amount of money you have paid, and it's a 1 year course. It's not even a 2 year course like your IIMs and some of the other classical MBAs. So yeah, in that case, also the ROI doesn't make sense. But I'm sure a lot of the experienced people, especially after working for 6, 7 years, are primarily going for the network that ISB provides and not just direct placements. Pete, what do you think?
Look, so I am never a big fan of MBAs, right? I think the world is changing so fast, especially in today's day and age, with AI tools coming out and a bunch of stuff that's happening in the tech sector. What is the best place for you to learn? Is it a startup where which is trying to leverage AI and giving you that first hand experience in building stuff, basically using a bunch of tools that's literally launching, 1 week earlier, 2 weeks earlier, etc.? Or is it to go to some classroom and listen to a 40, 50 year old professor giving some gyan about how a marketing campaign did extremely well 10 years back? Look, I have no problem with people doing MBAs, but my personal take is that the world is changing so fast, and I don't think MBAs or MBA colleges are updating themselves to ensure that people who do an MBA is getting an advantage more than people who work in high growth startups. It's probably because I've also gotten a lot of luck in my career where I've been able to grow without a shiny degree. That's probably where all of this is coming from.
That's also the same thing that we discussed last time, right? Hope sells. MBA colleges sell hope, which tells you that if you come here, you'll go away with a 40 lakh job. And for someone who is making a 10 lakh, who will have to change four jobs after that to reach 40 lakhs or two, three jobs, right? It becomes like I'll pay 40 lakhs, I'll get 40. I actually recently met a very contradictory founder recently who says that I never hire guys from ISBs because people go to ISBs to exponentially grow in like next 2 years, next 3 years. Even if I hire these kind of people, they have ingrained in the mentality so high that they want to grow in 1 year or else they'll leave. So these people don't stick around. That's why I don't hire ISBs. So that's also
Yeah.
a spin that is coming in the market now.
It's a very ISB thing. Join somewhere and leave in 6 to 8 months so that you get a huge bump in your salary. And the second company where you work for is probably where they're going to spend a lot of time. I know a lot of friends from ISB and they've all mentioned
That's
this.
majority of MBA folks today, no? Like
And now
irrespective.
people are reading those patterns. Now people are observing this founder was right then. Whatever you guys are saying is matching.
Cool. Moving on to our stories of the week. Which ride hailing app is doing well? Even before you guys jump in, let me read out the tweet. Ride hailing business in India. Revenue for top three companies. Ola, 1,761 crore, which is a decrease of 11.3%. Uber, 807 crore, increased by 18.9%. And Rapido, 648 crore, increased by 46.3%. There is a lot to unpack over here, but even before we go there, let's ask, let's ask each other, which app do you guys use the most and why do you use that app the most? Pavan, do you want to go first?
I have a priority list. First hop is Uber, fall back to Rapido, fall back to Nammayatri. I have all the three apps.
Why? Why Uber first?
It's just like ingrained. I don't like the UI of Rapido, although it works always. It's text. If someone from Rapido is listening to this, please fix your UI UX, guys. Not UI UX. The experience is not great. Uber works. And Uber is such a beautiful power, right? It works same way in India, in Europe, in London, in Singapore, wherever you go, it works the same way. And your currency, your card deduction also happens in the back end. I don't need to think about how to pay, nothing. Same card works everywhere. That experience, right? I love it.
I actually, of late in India at least, prefer Rapido. I mean, especially in Bangalore. And this is primarily because evenings I mostly take autos during peak working hours. And Rapido, for whatever reason, they've really worked on ensuring that the ride availability is extremely high. And I always end up getting a ride when I'm trying so much on Uber, Ola, and some of these other apps. I am not getting that. Also, at least at a personal level, in when I am traveling, Pavan, like you mentioned, right, how Uber is standardized across different countries, across continents, etc. For me, whenever I'm traveling to Southeast Asia or the Eurasia side of the world, like I prefer using a Bolt or a Grab because there I'm getting a lot more options, and I feel even from a price perspective, those apps have cracked a slightly more fairer price as opposed
Yeah.
to an Uber which always maintains a slightly premium positioning. So yeah,
No,
Rapido for
true.
me has been doing great.
I actually thought you were a Ola person, Saksham. For some reason, you give very Ola vibes. But
Bro,
uh,
Ola is so bad. I'm
seriously,
sorry,
bro,
but Ola sucks.
why do they try to sell us an electric scooter when we are trying to book a cab to go to office? Right? It's so fucking annoying, man.
No, also the fact that so firstly they refuse to use Google Maps. They have Ola Maps, and it is so bloody incorrect. It is so bloody not real time. There is so much lag that happens.
Hey, but
Yeah,
you
it's
heard
just not.
what Bhavesh says, no? Indian companies should use Indian tech products. Only then we can grow.
Make good tech products, then we can grow.
Grow without us, bro. It's fine.
Yeah, I would
But
probably
that's the
say
thing, right? The entire market is growing. If you see these numbers, you can understand the entire market is growing. And one of the first entrants in this space, his revenue is decreasing. What does it say about the company?
100%. Yeah.
They have the first moving advantage.
yeah.
They have the best investment advantage. They have best team advantage. The market is growing. The tailwinds are in the right direction, but your revenues are decreasing.
Cool. Let's move on.
But what about you, Pete?
I use Uber, Rapido, and worst case scenario, I use Ola.
Oh, not
Hmm.
Namma Yatra. Okay.
Yeah, I just like Uber's design a lot. While it's way more premium, way more expensive, and like Saksham, I use other apps like Bolt when I'm traveling outside. But in India, I always prefer Uber. But uh, I don't know, maybe the driver availability for Uber isn't great. So I've always found more
Yeah.
success with Rapido, especially in Bangalore. So I am noticing like a small shift, in the way that I book. But yeah, that's
But
about it.
is this just me or just confirm this to me, guys? Like, have you ever felt? I always feel this that Uber drivers and the cars are a bit better, clean, and premium than the Rapido ones, or it's just in my mind.
No, it's a very city specific thing, bro. If you go to Bombay, irrespective of whether you take an Ola or a Uber, I think Bombay has the worst cabs condition in the country.
If you look at the second-hand car marketplace, right, cars from Bombay has the lowest resale value because Bombay is so crowded. They know that whichever car you drive, wherever you drive, it must have hit and scraped somewhere, and that's kind of reflecting on the pathetic states of cabs also,
Yeah,
in Mumbai.
100%.
Let's move on to why does or what does building in public really mean? I think we have spoken about this in multiple pockets before, but look at this, right? Why it's This is why it's hard to like D2C. Well, we do an all Indian D2C founders on Twitter users, which begs us to ask this question. There are a lot of founders who are very active on Twitter. In fact, I myself have bought a lot of products just because the founder is active on Twitter. In case of anything, I can obviously reach out to him, ping him. Atomberg and Naturally Yours are just good examples of this. But what do you guys think? I think Fredo, Wellbe, and a bunch of these D2C brands are very active on Twitter, and sometimes it does get a little overboard. But what are your takes on this, guys? Saksham, let me start with you today.
I feel if you want to build in public, the first thing you have to ensure is obviously a lot of transparency in the business and being able to accept a lot of feedback. Now, what that also means is that along with that feedback, there will also be a lot of noise, people hating on you, people uh, commenting and calling you out for the smallest of things. But I also feel if you are building in public, and if let's say Kawaljit, uh, uh, if you're a founder who is active, it also helps you build a thick skin and really get a sense on what does the consumer really want. Yeah, that those are my first views. We'll continue from this. Pavan, why don't you go?
I feel like for founders who are entering commodity markets, right, where there are large incumbents in the space, like selling a coconut oil where there is a parachute, or selling like pillow there is sleep well, so on and so forth. It becomes like one of the important and easiest of the ways to build a brand, to find a wedge, because Twitter has this 1% or 2% of audience which are really well, who can set an example, who can be your early adopters, provide your feedback, appreciate the extra effort you're putting in, appreciate the innovation that you're bringing in, and that will give you a credibility for the long time. So I think so that skimming strategy that a lot of company wants to use, right, when they're entering a commodity market by tracking the premium segment of the society, it works well with this Twitter strategy, and it's very important. And is a low cost customer acquisition strategy, is what I believe. Great thing.
Yeah, I don't disagree with either of you guys. Look, and to everyone to itself, right? I've also muted a bunch of D2C founders just because it gets a little too much. Look, building in public and advertising for free are two different things, but for some reason, these brands take it as the same. In the past week, I've given honest feedback to two brands where they were outright faking stuff. One of them, even on a serious health issue today, blah, 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 losing trust. If you're building in public, please ensure that you are not doing shady stuff or you will be called out. If it is a genuine mistake, own up and people will trust you
Yeah.
more. We are going to cover a very interesting story on Cred, which was a genuine mistake, and how Kunal Shah owned up. So please stay tuned for that. But yeah, man, look, I agree to everyone for himself. I have tried out brands just because the founders were very active on Twitter. They spoke, they helped me understand a lot about their products, why it was different from competitors. And like Pavan mentioned, these were brands operating in mass markets where it's very hard to build a wedge or very hard to build a difference. But yeah, it does get a little too overwhelming at times just to keep seeing, Fredo, and Attenberg and everything on my feed every now and then. Let's move on to the Elafda of the week. How Cred's hackathon flopped.
Oof.
Pavan, I know this is your favorite company to talk about, but in fact, even before I read out the tweet, look at this. AI won't replace you. Someone from this hackathon might. Apply by March 24th. Winner gets 50 lakh and a place in history. And
I
look at
like
this.
the cred.club/rabbit hole.
Look at this. So they're enforcing login with Cred, which has nothing to do with the hackathon to sign up and mandatorily taking away all your rights to what you build. This is a masterclass on how not to organize a hackathon. And look at the screenshots. So somebody participating in the hackathon must log in with Cred, which essentially mean you need to have a very high credit score, which is irrelevant in the case of a hackathon. Go on. What do you
Yeah,
think,
Pav.
Saksham?
So okay, I first thing I feel why they have promoted login with credit. I think they've always since inception maintained their premium tier one positioning, and Cred feels that only people
Not
from tier
everyone gets
one
it.
people from tier one have the ability to actually code and to be able to participate, which is why Pavan credit score becomes extremely important. So you can't just apply for a credit hackathon if your credit score is low, irrespective of how smart you are. Like, come on, that's like peasant behavior. but yeah, this is shady and something I didn't expect Cred to do, considering like all things IP is not cool.
Yeah.
Pavan, go for it.
Which hackathon do you see which puts themselves out, gives terms and condition in such a more readable format? They usually give a link which says no one reads it. It's an unreadable document usually. I sometimes feel these people do it by themselves just to get attention. Probably they knew that people will flag this out, or it were their peoples who were first flagging this out so that this post can go viral. I feel this is all like unnecessary shit being done to just do the hoo-ha out of it. I smell a lot of conspiracy to make this post go viral
Of
by
course
putting
you
all of
do.
these things and making people talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are my thoughts.
I think it's definitely interesting to think about because it's been a while since Cred has gone viral. Ever since they launched the fast tag feature with the Batmobile, and the VFX effects and all that. It could be, but I also think that Cred is building a high trust business, so something like this is obviously going to affect them in a very negative manner. So I'm not sure whether this was intentional, but look, let's give credit where credit is due. Even after all of
Yeah.
this, once this blew up and they realized it, Kunal Shah did come out and say fair call outs on IP shouldn't have been there to start with, dropping it. That's good, right? I always love it when founders own up to their
Yeah.
mistakes and just come out publicly with a clarification. Not talking about it, still continuing to do it, and just talking about the point that you want to talk about and not addressing what the general concern is something that we've seen a lot of founders do. But clearly, Kunal Shah didn't do that. So kudos to him for that.
100%.
Did you say Ola? I didn't hear you.
No, I
Pavan.
didn't say all. Bye. Okay, that's it from this week's edition of the Indian Startup Desktop. See you next week. Bye bye. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so below. See you.
See you guys. Bye bye. Ciao.
Oh,
last
one
month.
sec, stop. One sec,
हाँ.
stop. दीदी अभी recording है आप evening आओ.
Bro, we should keep this, bro. We should keep this. We should keep this.
हाँ? After note कम दीदी.
100% we are keeping this.
Yeah.